All right, welcome everybody. We are going to hop straight in because we're a little bit behind on time. So, welcome to the SpeedRun Ethereum Development Workshop. My name is Danny Tongs, and I'm a builder with the Build Guild. And the Build Guild is a DAO of builders, lots of builders that are rapidly prototyping tools on Ethereum, and we're into education and uh, building tools, like I said, and also giving out small grants to high impact developers. So this workshop is just going to take you on a speed run to how you can actually get started to building and shipping applications on Ethereum and also joining the Build Guild. So the tool we use, the Build Guild, is Scaffold ETH. And Scaffold ETH has two versions, Scaffold ETH and Scaffold ETH2. Scaffold ETH2 is the latest version and what we currently use right now. So if you just head over to scaffoldeth.io, you'll find it, and the docs is here, and you can also get the repo on GitHub. So there's usually two ways to use Scaffold ETH. You can simply just head over to the repo and like work it and it to build off your application, or there's a new beta method that we also use, which is like an npm method. So it's in beta, so it's not the most reliable, but it's actually stable. So you can just type npx space create dash ETH at latest on your terminal, and you can get a fresh scaffold ETH build setup. So that's what I'm going to use right now. So I'm just going to open Visual Studio Code and already have some weird coding thing going on. So I'll just open a new window and close this one out. So first thing you want to do is get to the folder where you want to build, where you want to start the app, and just type in. I think this my PC is running a little slow right now for some good reason. All right. So I am going to open a new folder. Let me just cd to documents. And so I want to create the app here, so I'll just do npx create e app latest. And this is kind of like a choose your adventure type of way. So we have settings between Hard Hat and Foundry, which is one of the two most popular smart contracts frameworks on Ethereum. So you can choose which one you want to use, but first you need to give it a name. So we'll just call this workshop.
And I think first they have to install the create ETH package if they don't already have it.
Okay, so first thing you need is Node.js. You need some packages. You need Node.js, and you need Yarn. You need the Yarn package manager. You need Git. So you need to have Git on your PC as well. So if you have all of those, you can just do the npx command. Yeah. So
can you control plus your terminal so it's bigger so they can see
okay
for the back? Control plus. Yeah.
Is that big enough?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can see it.
Okay. So yeah, actually I'm going to change this name to attendance dash drop or airdrop. So here you get to choose between hard hat or foundry, and I'm gonna go with hard hat. And it'll ask you if you want to install the packages as well. So you just need to press that yes, and that's it. So it's gonna take a while for it to install the packages. And I'm gonna head back to and check out the GitHub, which is right here. All right, so this is actually the repo, and it's got instructions on how to use it as well. Pretty straightforward stuff. So it's got the requirements right here. So if you didn't have Node.js, you need to have like over version 18, Yarn, and Git. So if you got all those, you can just follow the instructions here and use it. So this installation process sometimes takes a while. So let's just walk through a little bit of the docs for Scaffold E. So if you actually want to do something really quick, most of the times it's so much faster to just fork the repo and just do it like that. It takes a while for this. Depends on your connection. It can be really fast.
It's taking a while. Yeah, it's yarning now.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
project name. So
It does.
whatever name you want to give it.
Yeah, whatever name you want to call it. So this right here is the Scaffold E2 documentation, and it's really good for you to check it out later. There's a lot of information on Scaffold E here. So if you check out the installation environment, there's a bunch of components that comes right out of the box.
I hope it's being recorded, so
Live streams on their own, right? So there's mine's not even mine's not even done initializing the Git repository yet. So that is gonna take a meanwhile. So when you say get the link, that's it. Okay, I think I have an idea. I'm going to use the share.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Share today. What's up?
Actually, I was thinking this share here to create a QR code. Yeah.
Or so what?
This to share the live stream if you want to share the live stream. Yeah. And I don't think I was actually sharing my screen, so let me quickly.
Oh.
Is yours done installing?
Mine finished.
Wow.
Mine is done as well.
What clone is right?
No, I installed everything.
See what I do. I didn't get into the repo.
What's the name of the YouTube channel?
Okay, so if yours is done installing, well, you can just move to the next step. If you check in the terminal, there's a bunch of logs there. So to get started, you need like to open up 3 terminal windows. So first thing you want to do is start up a local blockchain for your developer environment. So you can do that by typing in yarn chain in the first terminal window. So usually I like to split mine like this. Or if you have a tool to do that, you can just like, so I split it and on the next window, you can just.
So it's actually again. Notification is still
It's not. I did that. That's weird. It's actually. It's actually sharing. Why isn't it showing? Like right here, it says stop sharing. I'm gonna stop sharing and reshare just the window. Yeah, this is it. It's weird. It's weird. It's not showing. So if you've got the local blockchain running, then you want to open up another terminal and type in yarn start. So that's gonna start up. I'm fast.
Yeah.
Your are you like is your project done installing?
No, it's
How about you? Yours is done.
according to
If you're having issues, maybe you should just clone the repo. Just do the
also how to install dependencies.
yes. It's still okay. That's where you are at. Okay.
you just need to do in, right?
Yes, you have to do yarn. Basically, yarn deploy just deploys the contract that you have finished working on. So let's just walk through that a little bit. This thing is still not done. What in the world?
I think it's because you want a no skin guest
Yes,
internet.
yes.
I think that one the speed is not too much.
Yeah,
Do you mind going to fast.com and seeing how many Mbps you have now?
yeah.
My guess is probably like around 13 or below.
So it's taking forever. I know sometimes it takes a while, but this is the slowest I've ever seen. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 that's
It's okay, but
Yeah, but it's really
it takes some time.
is the screen share working now?
Oh, you're live streaming.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but
some of your bandwidth too.
yeah,
You
yeah.
can see
You can.
You can see it now.
Yeah, that's why it's so. It's because you're live streaming. That's why.
God damn, this. And you know, it's not just that. My PC is also really slow right now, which is kind of weird too. So I'm gonna try to stop all of these processes. I've got Docker running. Yeah,
Kill Docker.
sorry, Docker. You're going to have to go. Alright, Docker now. Who else gotta go? Safari, you gotta go.
That's okay. Or you can type
Maybe
your
you
own.
can try running. You can switch. My problem is if I go all the way over there, I have to stop that video, start again, and move to my own personal Wi-Fi because I can't continue. I can't continue
I
in.
think it's not the
Yeah, I'm gonna like switch to my own personal. This is so slow.
Oh, so I think we need to put you in your home directory because I think it's a permissions error. I think you don't have right permissions in this directory.
some
Oh yeah,
We
are
can,
you having permissions?
he is, yeah, so we go to just documents, home and then documents.
Are you on Windows as well?
Yeah, this is Windows. You can see.
There's some Windows.
Yeah, are you here?
Hey,
Are you here? Ask for room 112. Yeah, ask the reception for room 1120.
it's not just these right
1120.
now. Let's try
1120. Yes.
Oh, you don't have a documents. Oh, here we
Yeah.
go. Something with the
Windows. Alright, this who's gonna take care of my problems. Oh yeah, please.
should be okay.
Right, yeah. So what's the problem he's still having right now?
Install, it blows up. It's saying no such file or directory.
That's probably
Or
because
maybe he
it's
doesn't
not
have
in the right.
yarn.
Wait, what?
He may not have yarn. That might be.
No, it should be able to.
He's in his own directory.
But that's not where like he needs to see to where the project is right now. So he needs to see it to.
So
When
when
you
you
only do it from inside of there, that's why.
This should now.
when you use any text this in there for the project range, you have to go inside.
Oh. So like ls and see if the project files are in there. Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, it is.
See, I don't think he has yarn. But can we use NPM? Can we just do NPMI?
It's going to run into problems. Like it just isn't going to work.
So I don't think he has yarn. See, that's the
You
thing.
say, okay, yeah, we should. We'll try the yarn.
So can we do NPM install yarn?
This will work.
We can install yarn through NPM.
Yeah, we started to go by
Yeah. Yeah, we started.
that's the first bit.
Oh, yours is all set.
And then get networks now.
That was a wild side check, and I hope my internet hasn't changed. Yeah, so I don't think you missed. Finally, mine is so I'm just gonna open that folder with ES Code, so I don't have to. I switched to my personal network. So if you guys are just joining us, you should just go to scaffold.e. Can you share the link with them? So you need some dependencies to get started. You're going to need to have Node.js on your PC, Git, and Yarn. So if you have those, then you can just follow along. But if you don't, you're going to need to install those. So you have all of those dependencies, Node, Yarn. All right. So you want to open up a new project folder, and in your terminal, you can just type this. Yeah, where's gonna show you. Why are you here? What is wrong with you? What is fucking wrong? All right, so you can just type npx. So this is what you want to type to. It's crazy what's going on right now with my. So you want this in your terminal to to bootstrap a fresh project, and
Market was use content ads.
yes, yeah, there's something else that you need to add at later.
No JS.
So still getting the same problem.
Yeah, it won't install Yarn. So I'm just trying to figure out.
You could like Google Yarn install. I think there's another way to do.
It's the same idea with the design. Yeah, it might be like a executable you can download or something. So
Just check out the scaffold IO. The scaffold. I think there's a link to install Yarn there.
I think I'm having the same issue.
What is your problem?
I mean, I installed them with this one.
What's the problem? What's the error there?
yeah, the main thing is that it won't install Yarn, even though he's on his version of NPM. And he also has Node 20, which is more than enough. So we're looking to the Yarn, the official documentation. Yeah, and instead of trying to install Yarn from NPM, which may not be ideal, they may have like a curl installer. Yeah, this is the one we did. We did this one and this failed.
You don't have Yarn.
I think I installed it right now.
It says to change one package, but when we try it.
Do you have it working for you? Like it's installing,
You
right?
should have.
So when you do the npx dash create this right here, once you do this command, you're going to see a prompt in your terminal asking you to select a name the project. Then we're using hard hat.
This is the error. There are no scenarios.
Hard hat.
That's not normal.
Once you select the name, it's going to ask you to select between hard hat or Foundry. So you're going to select hard hat,
Well, we can,
and
but
it's going to ask you, do you want to install the packages? So you're going to select yes and hit enter. And that's pretty much all you need to do.
Excuse me, that comes after exactly after taking a credit.
Yes.
Oh, you can install no problem.
Yeah, so y'all should try the npm install global yarn. That didn't work.
we installed Yarn globally. It didn't work. We're looking up the errors. So he's getting the cryptic error.
That is some village people shit right there. Same thing,
You
you
got the wrong yarn. The yarn you comes from C. Oh. Installing CV test should fix this. Oh wow. This, yeah, that's from Ubuntu. Yeah, it's from 2017 also. So. Yeah, this one. Yeah, apt. Yeah, right. Here's on Linux commands.
all right, so
All the errors you're getting are get food. Is this an Ubuntu? This is a Windows machine. Yes, Windows.
Linux machine.
it says it's Linux.
This is Linux.
Are you in a VM? Are you running this inside of Ubuntu? Really?
I don't think I have installed it.
But the Windows OS is right here. You see Windows.
For Linux.
Oh, the Linux subsystem that
So you guys have yours
yes.
installed
I
and
think that's
running?
why. Okay. Can we try to work on the Windows? We can try to work on the Windows partition.
Yeah.
It's-
Here, let's
Yours is
go
done.
into PowerShell.
Okay, yours is done. Theirs is still on. All right. Well, let me just get my chain on. Yarn
We go
chain.
into PowerShell
Yarn
and run as administrator.
start.
Because this will install this on Windows, I think will be better for you right now.
What is this now?
I'm gonna make a new document, a new folder in yours called projects just like this.
All right.
Although, yeah. Okay, now we're gonna do the NPS.
All right.
Now we're gonna get known first of all.
Yeah. So if we got all of that stuff ready, we should have.
NPX create at he was working inside of a Linux partition in a VM, and that's part of the problem. I think he'll get faster through this if he uses Windows because it'll be similar to the Mac and Windows that are Windows systems. So we're gonna try that. Yeah, thank you, sir.
All right. While we wait for that to happen, I guess we can keep moving on. So if you've got your front end running, you can just go to localhost 3000 to see the front end of scaffold. Mine is taking a little bit of time to load up here.
So we did yarn chain in one terminal. We
Yeah.
did yarn deploy on another
Yeah.
terminal.
So that's going to deploy to your local blockchain. That's what Yarn deploy does. And
And what's the third term? Is there a third
Yarn,
terminal?
yeah, Yarn start.
Yarn start.
So that's going to start up your front end, which is a Next.js application. So I wanted to take some time to quickly walk through the project directory setup.
What?
So it's basically a mono repo. We've got this packages folder, and that's pretty much where all of the action happens. So in the packages folder, we've got two main folders, the hard hat folder and this Next.js folder. The Next.js is where the front end application lives, and the hard hat is where the smart contract lives. So in hard hat, where we really want to pay our attention to is the contracts folder. So that's where your smart contracts are going to be. And we have this little dummy contract, starter contract that Scaffold just provides out of the box for you to get familiar with a simple contract. And it's a greeter contract, so it's pretty simple. All it does is just updates a greeting with a string, and you can also send in some value to that. So this just kind of shows you the basic concepts of like reading from the blockchain and writing to the blockchain. And we also have an owner variable here. So it shows who the owner is, and it kind of protects some functions. So only the owner can actually do those things. So if we just walk through it a little bit, there's this comment here, which is a comment for an Open Zeppelin import. So Open Zeppelin is like a professional body company that just writes really secure code for the blockchain. And so if you're maybe writing a smart contract, you can just import the Open Zeppelin contract because it's like the industry standard for some of these things. So they've got contracts already written for so many different purposes that you can just import and build off of it. So right here, this is commented, but you can just use it. Normally, if you were building a production application, you want to use the Open Zeppelin package to do ownership of the application. But right now, we actually commented this out and we just created a different type of ownership, which is this owner variable we have here. And then this is a hard coded greeting that it starts off with a variable for premium that's set to false and a counter to set how many times they've they've done the greeting, they've used the greeting for the application. And we have a little event here. And basically, events are very useful for the blockchain. It's used to notify the outside world that something has happened. So we've got a little event there for whenever a greeting happens and the constructor. So here we actually set the whenever um, the smart contract is being deployed, the constructor is going to run just once and it just runs when the contract is being deployed. So when it's being deployed, we set the owner to the address that we put in the constructor. And so that becomes the owner. And we have a little thing called a modifier that's here. And that actually adds an extra bit of functionality to a function. And so this modifier is just trying to say only the owner can do the thing. So if you add this modifier to a function, it just kind of says only the owner can call whatever function you add this modifier to. So basically, the syntax for doing this thing or how you write a modifier is you just want to put an underscore. So you use the modifier keyword, you name the modifier, and then you write the code you want it writing. And this is basically just a require. So require is also a very important concept in the blockchain. It just says, this thing, whatever code is in this require block needs to happen. So it just kind of says the message.sender. So the message.sender is just trying to say whoever is calling the contract or whoever is calling the function is the message.sender. So whoever is calling this function should be equal to the owner, and you put the underscore. That's how you write a modifier. And so we now have the actual set greeting. And here we just take a string, and I'm going to skip over the console log there. And we just take the greeting variable and we just update it and increase the counter by 1. And we have a little mapping here, which I didn't even touch. So we have a little mapping here, which just takes a user's address and a number. So in that mapping, what we do when we're setting the greeting is we take we call the mapping, and the user, the way you call a mapping is you call the name of the mapping and then you put in a mapping is, let me back up a bit. So a mapping is a key value store. So when it's used to store a lot of things. So how you call a mapping, you take the name of the mapping and with square brackets, you put in the key and you set the value. So what we basically did here is just this kind of just takes count of the number of greetings this user has set. So we call the mapping by the name use greeting counter. We put in the message.sender, which is the person that is calling the function, and we increase the number by 1. So we just increment that number. And Another thing that we do here is we just try to check if this person calling the function sent it with some ether. If he sent value with it, then we're going to set this as a premium greeting. If it doesn't send any value with it, it's not going to be a premium greeting. So it's just a simple thing. And then at the end, we emit the event. And that's how you say something has happened. You just emit an event. And so that's pretty much how you, what happens there. And the last thing that's here is a withdraw function, which just like withdraws all of the balance in the contract. So what happens is if you want to set a greeting, you might want to set a premium greeting. And if you want to do that, you're going to send some value to the contract. So we want to be able to take the value out of the contract. And so we just set this withdraw function. So any value or any token that's in the contract won't be stuck in the contract. And here we have a very important function, which is the receive function. So this is what allows this smart contract to be able to receive ether. So if you didn't have this receive or a fallback function, it would, if you try to send ether to the contract, it would revert. The transaction would fail, basically. So this is what you do. So you need to always have this receive function in a smart contract that you want to receive, that you want to be able to receive funds. And so that's pretty much that on this contract. And
I have a question.
all right,
This in the contract, back up to, can you go back up to the owner
modifier.
modifier? Okay, so that modifier, it's like an interface, or it's like just the presence of the function in the contract gives it that basically this to say you only put this in for the owner. This function only applies to the owner.
Yeah, so it's really not like an interface. It's just like the word modify is the best way to, it modifies a function. So if you don't use it, it's basically just useless in the contract. It could just be here. But what it does now is you could do you just attach this to a function. So here
I
that this
see. Oh, so you put it at the end.
yeah, so this is where it's
His
used.
owner.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
okay.
what it does is anyone that tries to call this function, it's gonna run this modifier first.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so it runs it to check, oh, is this condition true?
Yes.
All right, so then we have this little deploy script. So this is where the script to deploy the contract is written. So it's already done. That's why when you do the yarn deploy, it just deploys the contract, but you might want to go through it to see how it's actually done. But basically we use hard hats. We call a deployer and a deploy function, and it's an async function. So we basically await, and this is the name of the contract. So you got to use the name here. So this is the name, your contract. And in here, really this name here doesn't actually matter much because this is the name. So when you look at the name here, when you call this contract, so if you were to name this something else and you name this and you call this name, it wouldn't work because when the contract compiles, it's going to compile with this name. So it's gonna take the name of the contract and it's gonna do from deployer, put in the arguments, which is what is already set as the deployer. And we just set logs to true, auto mine. These really aren't important. So this is the piece of code that actually does the deployment. And after this, we just call the contract that has been deployed. So sometimes you might want to take some actions after you've deployed a contract. Like say, maybe you want to send some tokens as the contract gets deployed. So once the thing is done deploying, you can call the contract this way. So you're going to give it the name and you call the contract like this. So this gives an instance of the contract that just got deployed. And now you can now call functions on the contract. So we've got this little initial greeting here. So basically, what happens is as we deploy, we just call this function on the contract and we export that. So this is basically your deployment script. And if you had multiple contracts, what you would do is you would create a new deployment script and modify the parts that you needed to modify for the thing to just automatically deploy. So basically, if we were to add a new contract here and do yarn deploy, it's just going to deploy the new contract. And the next thing that you might want to know about is tests. So there's already a test script here. The whole testing suite is set up. So if you wanted to do tests, you can just come here and add your test cases to test the functions in your contract. And I think that's pretty much all there is for the hard hat folder. There's also a hard hat config, so you can check that out later. You can set some other things. So right now, the default network that it deploys to is the local blockchain, but you can change that in the hard hat config.ts file. And that's pretty much it for the contracts and the hard hat folder. The next thing is the front end, which is Next.js. And really where everything goes down is just right here. This is using the latest Next.js 14. So right in the app folder, you find this page.tsx, which is really where you can modify the front end of the application. You good? And I think this should have loaded up by now. Yeah. So this is what the front end looks like. And if one of the neat features of Scaffold is it has this little debug contracts tab that allows you to interact with your smart contracts right out of the box. So if you were to go to debug contracts and you've done yarn deploy, you're going to find your contract here. So here's the greeter and all the stuff we did. Yeah, so you can just start doing some little quick and dirty testing. And also, Scaffold E comes with something called a burner wallet. So if you're on local host, you can get access to a burner wallet, and that's just something that you can just a burner wallet. That's just what it is. It's not. It's just for testing. So you can just do this, and there's a faucet. You can just click on that, and it's gonna send ETH to the burner wallet. So now you can start interacting with your contracts on local. So let's just set a greeting right now. So we've got the greeting, and I'm gonna say, "Hey everybody," and I want to do a premium greeting. So I'm going to put like 0.02 or 3. And one thing you need to understand is in Ethereum, everything is, especially value, is denominated in Wei. And so if you were to do this, you would run into an error. So Scaffold has a neat little tool here. If you click this, it's going to convert that to Wei. So normally, if you were building an app, you would want to handle this for your users so they can just put in the number and it works. But this is a developer interface, so you need to know that you need to convert from number to Wei, and there are tools to do that.
You said wait?
Wei, yeah, WEI, Wei. That's the unit of the smallest unit of denomination in Ethereum. So it's Wei. So once you type in the number, you press this and it's going to convert it to Wei. And now we can send. So when we do this, it's gonna work. And you can see the greeting has been updated to "Hey everybody." And the balance of the contract has also been updated. So that's it. And now we can check You can check. You can just copy the address and paste it in, and it's going to show you that I have one. I did one reading. So if I were to change this to scaffold E is cool, and this time since I got so much E, I want to do 0.2. I'm gonna click on this, convert it to way, and if I check now, my counter's up, and the total counter is up as well. So that's how quick it is to start interacting with your contracts. And really the main thing Scaffold It and the Build Guild does is just make it easy for you to ship applications. So all of these things are already set up for you to just test out your
How
ideas.
do I visualize I have 0 ether.
Yeah, there's a faucet, this little thing right here. Yeah, so
Grab funds.
yeah, so it sends it to, and this is when you're on your local development environment.
Now I
Yeah.
have 3 ethers.
Yeah, so there's also another one right there at the bottom left corner. You'd see faucet. So
I see faucet.
yeah, this one you can specify an address. And so the reason for doing this is sometimes you might create an app that needs multiple, interactions. And so if I were to create an incognito tab and I put in localhost, I'm going to get a new burner wallet with a new address. So let's say you wanted an interaction from 3 different people. That's 3 different addresses. You could just do this, connect, and you'll get a new burner. So we got a new burner wallet. And so we can just try to test just how the set greeting works. So this guy is gonna do his own greeting.
Linux machine. You don't use it. I don't think we can get localhost from me because this is Windows and your server is running in your virtual machine in Linux. So let's try.
So we can see that now we have a total count of like 3 because 3 people have, set the greeting. But if I were to check if I were to check the count for this guy, it would be 1. So, and the balance of the contract is 0.5. So let me try to withdraw. I'm a smart guy. I see this contract has some value in it, so I want to take it. So you see, it's not going to work. And that's because of the modifier that, says it checks who's calling the function. And it checks that, the person calling the function is not the owner. So that's how that goes. And that's pretty much a rundown of what you can do. So these are some of the components that Scaffold It has, and this is a little address component. And what it does is it allows you to, if you click on this, it's gonna take you to the block explorer for this address. So if you click on the address, if you click on the copy, it copies the address. If you need the address, which is really useful. But if you click on the address, it's going to go to the block explorer. So this is something that's really useful when you're doing some. So Scaffolding also has a local block explorer built in, so you can like inspect your transactions and all that. So any questions so far?
Yeah, so I was going to ask, like, in case you want to build like ledger, so this
A what ledger?
so like there's a part for where you receive fund, and then there's a credit and a debit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for instance, you want to build a wallet,
Mm-hmm.
and then user send money to that wallet, and then you are also you are receiving and receiving money. So how do you approach it? And then the other question is this scaffold is like front-end based. Because since if you want to build a contract, so you want to build a contract, and then user can use the user can use it like to send or to integrate. For instance, I want to build maybe an API for that.
Mm-hmm.
Is this still going to happen?
Yes, this is designed to go the whole yard and build a production app. It's not just to build a prototype. You can build and ship your production apps straight off the bat. So Next.js has the back end stuff, which is in this uh is it public? I think here. um this latest version of Next.js can be confusing sometimes, but I think this has to be in this app folder. There's pages, so you create a folder for pages. How Next.js works, where you have the pages and the API, and so you can create your APIs in the API folder, and so you would have access to your APIs, and so you can interact with your smart contracts in the back end with your API. So if that's what you're talking about, so you would just do everything, you know, right out of the box. So I think you just create some
You can
pages.
just use the app directly.
What?
Just use the app directly since Next.js.
Yeah,
Just use the app directly.
for accessing the
For
API.
creating new pages and stuff. But to also add on his question, so I guess the thing we're trying to understand is since, for example, right now we have a
It's not
contract,
just one
we have an
transaction.
address for it, right?
This one you can.
So if we give the user that address, they can send Ethereum to it, even though we have written everything correctly, right?
Mhm.
And we want to be able to read that contract has received some money, right?
Yeah.
So these kind of things. And I know it's possible via Solidity, right?
Mhm.
So I'm assuming his question is, can we do that via like Next.js without having to write new Solidity?
Without having to write new Solidity
So can we
code.
read like transactions happening on the contract without using Solidity with that Next.js part of the code?
Obviously, that's how all of this is working. Like all of these things that you're seeing here, it's not Solidity anymore. Like this whole thing, this whole UI is all front end. So actually, Scaffold, it uses some libraries to do the interaction with the smart contract. So it uses a library called Vim and WAGMI. So you might want to check those out. Check out your docs if you want to know more. So let me just type those out here. So Vim is this VIEM, and WAGMI. I think the website for WAGMI is wagmi.sh. I'm not sure about Vim, but these are the libraries, and I think. Do you have a question?
Actually found the code.
What?
So looking into Next.js.
Okay, so now, yeah, that's actually a great question. So if we're in Next.js, most of the things you can find in components. So in components, we've got contracts, and you can see all of the different components that are in use. So you can go check out these components to see how they interact with the smart contract, and it's just using a lot of these hooks. So scaffolding has some scaffolding hooks, and the WAGMI has the WAGMI hook. So for certain things, you might want to use the WAGMI hook. Let me see. Find some debug contracts. All right, this is actually the folder I was looking for. So we've got some, let's say, balance or address. Let's use the balance. And this is a little component that shows the balance in Ether or USD. So when you click on it, it changes from USD or to uh, Ether. So this little component here uses the use balance hook from the hooks folder, and it uses the use target. This actually changes the network, and basically this is more or less a read component. So it's just used to read data from the blockchain. And if we want to look for a write component, I think this would be it. Let's see, hooks, yeah. So if we go to something like a use scaffold it contract right, so this is how you might want to do something like interact with a function that changes the state of your smart contract, like what we did with the set greeting thing. And so this contract uses the WAGME hooks. Like I said, we use the WAGME thing. So it imports this contract, this hook from WAGME. And if you check out the WAGME docs, okay, this is V and this is WAGME. It'll give you a little bit more information on how you can use this hooks. So use contract right. So you can definitely check out the WAGME docs to see a little bit more information on how you would use the WAGME hooks. But to just make it simple, if you wanted to use it, you would basically head over to, let me just do a little example. I think we might have to create a new function in the smart contract so we can just like call the function. So you see that you don't really need to do any solidity thing to interact with the contract. So let's just head back to hard hat contracts, your contract, and we are going to create a new function to do what? I don't know what this function is going to do, but it's going to do something. So I'm going to say do something. And it's going to be public. And okay, so what is this function going to do here? Let's see. Hmm. Maybe it's just going to reduce the count of someone. Yeah, that's what it should do.
Just log some.
We can't really. So there's the mapping to, and we're going to say ms message the sender, and we're going to, yeah, minus 1. All right, so we're going to just decrement the whatever this thing. Okay, yeah, but first we want to do a check if it's at least above 0. So we are not trying to reduce a thing that is less than 0. So we're gonna say if this guy less than 1, require, oh yeah, require this to be greater than 1, to be greater than 0. Yeah. And if it's not, we're gonna say, we're gonna tell the user something. We're gonna say user has no count. Right. So that's just what this does. It's just gonna like reduce whoever calls this function's count by 1. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to need to deploy this contract again. So we're gonna do yarn deploy dash dash reset because we want to do a fresh deployment.
So that resets all the local instance variables for the current.
It just like deploys a fresh contract.
With the updates you've made.
Yeah, with the changes.
By the way,
But if you don't do reset,
Yeah, actually, I really didn't need to do it because I modified the contract, so it's gonna
it's
deploy.
reset anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna deploy. But if you didn't change anything and for some reason you wanted to do a fresh one, or let's say I had 2 contracts and I modified one, it'll like do a fresh deployment for one and not the other. Does that make sense? So if I wanted to do a fresh deployment for both contracts, then I can use this dash dash reset flag.
what happens to the offline? still there.
It's not there anymore because it's actually a local blockchain.
I mean, if we were in a left,
If you are in a live blockchain, if you go to that address, it's still going to be there. It's just that you deployed a new one. Yeah.
you can update it once stuff. My
All right.
question was, since we didn't say the owner address, where does it come from? Because we didn't.
We said it. It's in it's in the deployment script here.
I mean, while while we were creating the user repository, we didn't put in our wallet address, right?
Okay, so the owner is the deployer. That's what we put here. If you look at the deployment script, it sets the argument. So there's this args property where you set the argument for the constructor. And so we set it as the deployer. And what is for a local blockchain, the hard hat provides the deployer, which is what you call. So as you're deploying, so we could just easily change this to any address. Yes, a hard coded one, but we decided to use the deployer, and the deployer is the hard hat.
So when we have deployer, we can replace it with a contract.
Yes, we can replace it with a contract. We can replace it with a normal address from a wallet, right? So now I think everything should be changed now. All right, so everything is new now. So what we want to do is new grading stream. What is that? I was seeing something weird. I wanted to refresh this page. All right, so what we're going to do now, we're going to head over to the front end and we are going to change stuff and interact with our contracts. So where's the XJS app page? So this is the page where you can do. So we're just going to like delete everything in here. And what we need is a button. And the button is gonna have an on-click function. That is equal to a function that we're going to write, but for now, I'm just gonna do this. So it has a all right, so and this is complaining because it didn't, yeah, so I will use the address component. The address components needs an address proc connected address. Why is auto suggestion working? Yeah.
The VS Code is slow to
it's
pick up the
yeah. So
government still running.
okay, so what we want to do is we want to use scaffold each contract right, the hook. So it's import use scaffold and scaffold contract right. And how we do it is we're gonna have this const write async. So you can find all of this in the docs, how to use all of these hooks. It's on the scaffolding docs, so you can write async and you give it the name, whatever name, do something. Use scaffold contract, right? And so it's gonna take a bunch of arguments. I'm going to head over to the docs and just check the arguments. Or you know what? I think it's in one of these components. It was used.
The code.
So you guys following so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So all right. So the thing is, I just needed to grab some of this information. I could have gone to the docs, but I'm being too lazy, so I'm just gonna grab it from a different function and I'm gonna paste it and change it. So for you to for you to do this, you're going to need the ABI of the contract, and that's here. Man, my PC is so slow today. So you can find the contracts in this folder.
Okay. Where the can you just we need a local file path for one of those. Which one do you want? Page.tsx or deployed contracts?
So
you
it's
just want to see the so it's in packages.
yeah, it's in package
Next.js.
Next.js, yeah.
That's why.
Man, this thing is so slow. It's really disturbing. So I'm gonna remove all of this. This takes an array of arguments, and the function name, we're gonna pass it as a string. And the function name was do something, right? It was do something.
You have to pass in the address.
Removing these things because there are some required arguments. So I want to know the ones that's required, while some of the arguments are optional. And scaffold edocs, scaffold edocs. Where's that? So I'm gonna close out all the possible. All right, so interacting with your smart contracts, and you can check out use scaffold it, right? All right, so basically all you need is this. What we need to do right now are these. So you don't need to pass in the address. We're just gonna take these values because that's what we need. So you can see that there's more stuff that you can get from this the structured objects, but we just need those three. So I am gonna paste those here, and the function is do something, and the args is an empty array, and that should be all. So we're gonna take this out and put do something. Talking about what we are talking about. I'm trying to see all of these. And what?
I would say the argument.
Yeah. Which is a weird thing. I'm trying to wait if it's coming from my yeah. Okay, that should do the trick now because that is really not what we're concerned about right now. TypeScript was complaining about any type, which we don't really care about right now. So I think first we need to set a greeting so we can reduce the number. You know, my PC is as slow as a snail. Oh yeah, do something is here, but we want to do it the other way. So do something is already here, but we want to do it the manual way. Yeah, so we've got some new greeting. Hey, and so we've got one, and we've got two. So let's go home. I don't even understand what it's loading. It's local. You should not be loading. Wait, what? Your contract is not the what are you talking about?
That don't make no kind of sense, man.
Yeah. Uh,
The issue with what? The argument not
There's there's no argument for that function. So
it's probably just VS Code.
do something doesn't have any argument. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna see what happens here first. Well, there's something wrong with our function because it's not working. Oh wait. What's supposed to? But this isn't. We didn't reduce this. What we did is this guy. Remember, the we only reduced the count for this, so it should have. Yeah, it's working. Does that make sense? We didn't update the total counter. We only updated the users count. Yeah, we only updated the count in the mapping. We didn't what?
So it's like decreasing the order.
So this do something function just reduces the specific users count. So normally if I were to do a new greeting like what's up people, it increases my count. So if you check my count, it's 2. So this do something function, it just reduces my count. It doesn't, we didn't update. Yeah, we didn't actually update the total counter as well.
Total is for all the addresses.
What?
Total
The total counter is for every greeting that is set
from everyone.
from everyone.
Yeah, the something was displayed on that.
So the do something just reduces. If you check the code, all it does, if you look at whenever you set a greeting, there's this part where we increase the total counter. But when we do something, we just come here and we reduce this by one.
But it's not connected to any actual transactions.
It is. It's actually a transaction.
Oh, that itself is a transaction.
Yeah, it's a transaction. But the thing is, there are two variables that needs to be updated. So here, if we wanted to reduce the total counter, we'll just take this line of code, put it here, paste that, and change this to minus. And so when we do something now, it's gonna happen both ways. But before we wrap this up, there's two. First, I want to figure out what is wrong with that. What is wrong with our button, so we can sort that out. And secondly, I want to show you that you can just push your application straight to a Vercel build, so you can share the link to your users to start tinkering with your app. So once you're done with all of this, you can basically get the thing out for your users to start playing with. So if we head back over, here, do something. I'm trying to figure it out. Is there a typo? What in the world is? That's absolutely nothing wrong. Okay. So this. Okay, I'm going to take that out.
Wait, everything the news commented.
What? Oops, my battery is almost out. What are you saying? What are you asking? Something. There's no way to plug this here. Okay.
Everything commented in the contract. So why is
All right. Now what is?
You go to add extra.
just which of them? Please only take a which of which one so please the first two.
Like what in the world? This really doesn't make sense. Why that is telling me all that stuff. Yeah, it's working now. It made no sense why it was telling me all that stuff before. No, but now it's working. So yeah, let's test it out. So here um, we're gonna do a new greeting. So this is a new thing. So hello world, and we don't need any money. And we're gonna do another greeting called say hi everyone. And so we've got two, and I'm gonna head over here and do something. All right, cool. So we've got nothing.
Well done.
Oh yeah. So everything works fine. And if we were to check this out as well, so yeah, that's how you interact with this contract from the front end. So you don't need to do any solidity thing. Solidity is when you're doing the contract. So finally, if you want to get this out to your users, you would do something like yarn Vercel. You would do this, but I'm gonna YOLO this so they don't ask me too many questions.
Let's see if you want to deploy a specific tool.
Like this is already set up for you, so you don't need to go do anything else. If you want to deploy your application for people to start using, you just do a yarn Vercel and it just deploys a Vercel build for you. So obviously if you haven't like set up your Vercel thing on the PC, then you're going to need to do something like that. But I already have, so it's got my stuff. So it just asks you a bunch of questions. No, what's this project's name? I'm gonna say workshop.
Does this deploy to yourself?
Yes. And then every other thing, you just pretty much hit enter. And once it's done, it's gonna do you want to modify these settings? No. And once it's done, it's gonna give you a link, and you can take that link and share it to all of your users. Oh, I don't know if this is gonna fail because this Vercel thing likes to do some. I really don't know why this thing is still having all these problems here. It's not assignable. TypeScript likes to do a lot of complaining.
And it is camel case, right?
Yeah,
It's camel case.
Yeah, unclick. So
yeah. The thing is,
no, but normally unclick
it's
when you call that when you use it, it's supposed to call it somewhere else to probably retrieve something. Normally.
yeah, this is how you.
So from there, you see types of properties where you're passing in a string.
That's what it's saying. Type of property. Type are
Type strings
incompatible.
are
String is
assignable.
not assignable to type EIP 1559.
So you see amongst those
Or
small
undefined.
types, there's no strings. So you can just, if you know which one is not accepting, you just pass in undefined.
The thing
But
is,
JavaScript is not
it's
based like that.
But it's working.
yeah, it's working,
So
but
this is a VS. This might be a VS Code issue.
yeah, because I'm trying to like type args value, new value, other value, undefined.
This is just the built-in linter. It's
Yeah,
finding the type error, but there's no type error there because it's working. You're passing that function in, and it's working.
yeah. Sometimes even when there's a type error, if you don't have the strict type thing on, it can still work.
Oh, you're not using strict
Like this is like straight off the
mode.
default.
This is very the template.
Yeah, so
Look for strict mode in the repo and see if it's search it through.
so this but first the scaffold 8 So this right here is the link to this app. So I am gonna take this and do a screen share, a what they call this, a QR code. So if you go there, you can interact with our little app we just built.
Let's have a question before you continue. Since like the contract was running locally, right, and you're deploying the website on Microsoft.
Oh yeah, that is true. It's not going. You're not going to be able to interact with this contract. So yeah, we could deploy to a test net. So yeah, that's a great.
When I look at this repo though, every time they call on click in their boilerplate code, well, no.
You know, I try to do it like this.
Yes, like that one. That's
Yeah.
what they have there.
I could do it like
Most
this.
of them are like that.
So we
An
could do it
arrow
like
function.
this.
It is
Yeah.
arrow. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
arrow
but
function.
it's like it's
But it's still there. It's still
yeah,
giving you the error.
yeah. It's not. It's really not that. Like it's usually done this way when you want to use like some arguments or stuff. But normally it should
That's what I
work
was saying. Then you need to call
But what
because you know why it you
receive
don't
some-
need.
some arguments.
This function doesn't use any arguments. So normally there's an arg property here where you would put in your arguments. But since it doesn't, I had to remove that. So
Maybe. Okay. Did you? And
that's
it won't take empty parentheses.
yeah. I did set.
Oh, I
and-
remember the args. And then
Yeah.
we got an error on that.
yeah,
one.
we got an error on that one. So I had to.
What if you give it a dummy argument? Like give it
Normally
something
this is supposed to work. This is supposed to work. But now I don't
But it
really.
is working. It's just the compiler. That's the compiler.
Yeah, I just and I don't like seeing this
Me either.
complain.
If
Yeah.
you close your VS Code and open again, maybe you can restart this.
So let me quickly send some tokens, some testnet tokens to this. Okay, so one other thing because it raised a very important point. So if you wanted to deploy to a testnet, you've done all of your local development, everything is working fine, and now you want to deploy to a testnet, you would need to run this command yarn generate. And what this does is it generates a new private key, and it's set up so you can't push this private key to GitHub by mistake. So it generates an account in the hard hat folder, and it's gonna be in your EMB. The private keys is gonna be saved there, and so that's gonna be your deployer. So now when you do a deploy and it gives the contract to the deployer, is going to be this contract. And so now this is the contract that we're going to need to send the testnet funds to. So if you want to check the balance of this contract, you're going to have to run yarn account. And once you do that, it's going to show you all of the balances of the contract in the different networks. So the networks are actually here. So it's not like the networks are just coming from nowhere. So if we go to the hardhat.config.js, you can see a networks object, and there's a bunch of networks here: mainnet, Sepolia, Goerli, Arbitrum. So this is the easy way to do this, and I'm gonna do it on Sepolia. So go over to my wallet and send some Sepolia E so we can deploy. And if we do that,
Do they have some control panel where once you deploy it, then you can configure your private key on the server? Because the deployed application needs to also know,
no, it's automatic. Like it knows that.
or it knows it automatically.
Yeah, like you can't like it's not advisable to move your private keys from here. So basically, let me get this straight. What are you asking?
Once you once you deploy the application, how does it know? How does it authenticate if your private key is on your computer?
Okay, so what happens is that's where this thing I talked about when during the deploy script. So what you really usually want to do is when you are deploying an application, as you deploy it, you transfer the ownership to a wallet that you have access to that you can easily move about. So what you would do is here in your deploy deploy script. So you might want to do something like um, let's say this contract doesn't have a function to transfer ownership. That's why you normally would use the Open Zeppelin ownership library. But normally, what you would do is here you would just say your contract the like transfer ownership, and then you would put in the address of the contract you want to be the new owner. So what happens is as the contract is being deployed, it just transfers the ownership to whoever. Yeah. So that's normally the flow. That's normally how it's done. So you don't need to do anything with this one. It just stays safe and does its deployed work. So and just to wrap
That
this up.
means if there is like an open source contract on GitHub, if I can find it and find
Find what?
that function to transfer ownership, I can basically just call it and put it and transfer it to myself.
I don't understand what you're saying.
So if there is a contract available on GitHub
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
open source and has
Mhm.
that transfer ownership function,
Mm-hmm.
I just clone it, deploy it, and then transfer ownership to myself, to my wallet. Like
That's
anyone who can see your codes can update the address and then transfer
no,
ownership to
it
them.
can't because the contract is different. The contract on the blockchain is different. So if you clone my code and you deploy a new
Oh,
contract,
it's a separate.
it's a
contract.
it's a separate contract. So that's your contract with your. It's not
Just
so
the same
there's
functionalities.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same contract, but it's the same
Same
code,
functionality. Like
to-
you said, same
yeah.
functionality.
but a
It's a
different.
completely different contract.
Yeah, exactly. So you would
That's smart. I like
yeah. They pretty much the thing that you really want to uh, uh, watch out for is things like reentrancy guard, which is like a security problem. And usually there's also a library for that on Open Zeppelin. They've got libraries for almost anything you want to think of. So one of the resources you also want to take note of that we use a lot in the build guild is Solidity by example. So it's a good way to learn some things really fast. So I Solidity by example, and so you always want to check out here for some quick examples on some important concepts. So if you want to know about variables, constants, whatnot, constructor, all of these things, it's really short. So then there's also hacks that's very popular in Ethereum. So you would like to check out all of these hacks so you can secure your contracts from these hacks. And there's DeFi stuff, which are very important concepts. So they have like really simple examples for you to understand. So if you click on like Chainlink Price Oracle, they're gonna show you a simple contract that explains how to do the thing. And Remix is one of the best IDEs that we use to do quick testing for smart contracts. So if you click on this, it's gonna open up the contract on Remix, so you can quickly deploy it to a test net and just see how it works. So Remix is something that you should also get used to. It might be looking kind of strange at first, but the moment you start using it, it's a huge asset to have, because since I started using Remix, I found it invaluable. So it's just gonna open up the contract in Remix, and you can easily just check out if the contract is going to compile. If you click this little play here, it compiles. And oh, they added a new feature, Ask ChatGPT. That's actually quite cool. So if it gives some warnings like this, let's see what happens if you click on this. I haven't seen that before, but what happens? Click Ask Chat. Oh, whoa, it's right here in the console. Yeah. Welcome to Readings, blah, blah, blah. So maybe you need to get like logged in or get some API key to be able to use this.
Answering. It's answering.
What?
GPT. It's waiting for answer.
Yeah, but we got rate limits exceeded. So maybe you need to put, like sign in or something. But this is how you would understand some of these concepts when they talk about it. You would look at the contract and just open it up in Remix and just run it. You can also deploy right here in the right. You just come here and just deploy. So yeah, this contract may be abstract. You can, maybe you might need to, oh, that's the wrong contract. So this is what we want to deploy. And you just click deploy and it deploys it, and this is deployed to a, so that's how Remix works. It's very useful for testing stuff. So you want to take note of Solidity by example. And I was gonna send some testnet funds to, but yeah, so that's pretty much covers all of it. So now um, you can do the deployment to a test net, which obviously once we've got some money in here, so it should be here now. Let me run the command one time. Come on, why are you taking forever? Yeah, so we've got our balance in now, you can see. So how you would deploy to a specific network when you're using hat is just Control C out of this guy. And you would do it like this. Normally you would do yarn deploy, but now we want to deploy to a specific network. So you would do yarn deploy dash dash network, and you would type the name Sepolia. So this is one way to do it, but normally, personally, I don't like to do it this way. But this is usually how you would do it. You would type yarn deploy dash dash network and the network name. But if you wanted to not do that, you could come to the hard hat config file, and there's a little property called default network, and you would change it to the name of the network you want to deploy to. And if we simply change this to Sepolia, then we can get rid of this whole network dash dash network thing and just hit, yeah, and hit enter. And in the front end, we want to point our front end to the network as well, because right now our front end is pointing to, yeah. So the way you would do that is there's this little file here, scaffold config. So when we click into that, we'll come here and change the target network. So you just change it to Sepolia, and so it's gonna. So this guy.
Also, what happens if you don't change the?
So it's if you don't change it, your front end is going to be looking for your contract on the wrong chain. So you're looking for something on Sepolia. You're expecting changes on Sepolia, but your front end is pointing to local host. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. So pretty much that's all. That's the full uh, process from creating your contract, modifying your contract, updating your front end, interacting with your blockchain, and you know uh, putting the contract, the whole application up on Vercel so your users can interact with it. So what's this error about now? So I guess with that we're done. Any final questions?
The live app.
What?
Let's see the live app.
Oh, the live app. All right. Well then let's sort this error out. I don't know what this is about. So I'm gonna. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna clear this out so I can see. And there's a problem in this file which I don't know what happened when I was talking. Oh yeah, I probably did something wrong. So now everything is good. So we can just do a yarn deploy. And since we changed it in hard hat to Sepolia, we don't need to do the dash dash network thing. We're just gonna sit back and wait. So what
There's no gas fee or anything like that for the
I sent some ether. Yeah.
That's
That's
the test network.
test network needs every write transaction to the blockchain needs gas. Every write transaction that changes state needs gas. And so deploying is not different. It's still going to change the state of the blockchain. And so you need gas. So that's why I showed you the command to check for the address of the deployer, which is yarn account. And so when you do that, you get the address, you send some tokens, you deploy it, you go to the front end and make sure the front end is pointing to the right chain. And you do that in the scaffold config file. And once all of that's done, what this does is it updates the front end with all of the type definitions. And so what you want to do is we want to deploy it to Vercel once again. So we're going to do yarn Vercel. And since we already did it before, it's just going to do it. It's just going to like update the thing with the latest. So we can all go see our brand new. Let me get my, where did I have this? And I'm going to end the live stream now. Wait, what? Where is the? Oh, this is the incognito tab. Yeah, we're done here.